Well, good morning. I am trying something a little different today. Doing a little tutorial on Vcarve desktop, and what we're going to be doing is dropping a 3D clip art in and then uh, adding text to it so that it lays on top of the 3D carve. I'm out at a campground right now, or state park camping, and it's Saturday morning, and everything is just starting to wake up and get moving around. So you may see and hear noises in the background, just like kids in the background riding their bikes. But so just ignore that, and we'll get going here. The piece of work that I've got, or piece of wood that I have, is a 16-inch wide, 10-inch tall, inch and a half thick catalpa. Catalpa is a nice soft wood with a very oak looking grain to it, but it's soft, so it makes a great carving. If you do need to change these whenever you're creating a piece, just make sure you go back and recalculate your cut files and resave them before making the product. But good starting point for the piece of wood I have. I Z off of the surface of the wood, and I always use the center of my wood for my start point, because I tend to do single pieces only, and it may be scrap pieces, might be different sizes. If I center off the middle of it, it just makes it easier than trying to figure out some of the other pieces of it. So we'll start with that. Hit OK. There's our work area, and we're going to go into clip art, and we're going to use the open book clip art. Double click it, brings it in. I'm going to stretch that up so that it covers just about all of the piece. I don't want it to go over the edges, and I always want to leave a little bit here for when I do bit changes. On a 3D carve, you have to be able to Z off the surface again, so I want to grab a piece of the wood that has not been cut yet. So we'll go over here to the design side, and we're going to start adding our text boxes in. This is a gift from my great niece who is getting married, so I thought this would be a nice thing to put up. So that one there. We'll do a third one down here. That comes from Joshua 24:15. And now we can close our text box, because I like the font, and we could change it, but I like the font there. So it's a little narrow for some bits, but I think we can make it work. So now we want to just get these about where we want them. It doesn't matter. It will dump them all over the place once we do our distortion. But what we do want to do is bring these up to size a little bit, make them easier to work with. So if we zoom in on these, they overlap each other in a lot of places. So we need to fix that. So let's close this and let's go into get rid of that overlapping. So we're going to weld these, which will clear out all those bits and pieces in the middle, and replace. Now, if we look at them, those sections are gone, and all these pieces are connected. If they touched each other, they're connected rather than. That's kind of weird, but it is what it is. We can node edit that if we want to, or spread it out. We haven't done this one up here, so that's still there. I don't think that'll be a problem. They would be so close together, they would look like they're touching anyway. So we'll do the same with this. Weld it, replace the objects. And now, like there, it goes through and it becomes part of it. Same thing with this one. Let's do that on this one. Grab them. The welding. Replace setting one. What it's doing is if you tell it to replace, it takes out those lines. If you tell it to keep, the lines stay there. They just become not part of the text anymore. So, and there we go. Now, got our text on there. It's welded, so it'll V-carve nicely. Now we need to make sure we can curve it to fit these, to look like these pages, like they're on the page. And we'll be using this distort button. But to do that, we've got to tell it what we want to distort it on. So we're going to grab that solid line, and we're going to draw a couple kids going by singing on their bikes. Great. We're going to just draw a line. It doesn't have to be exact. If you have that smoothness mark turned way up, it will clean up any jitteriness like it did just there. And we'll do there, and we will do it down here. Oops, get a little farther. And we'll do the same over here. Okay. And we can close that. I'm going to show you something I did intentionally here. But if we go to our distort, we're going to tell it we want to go on between two lines. So we want to go between the top and bottom lines. So here we select our text. Oh, I didn't group them. Let's group those together. While we're at it, let's group these others together. So I don't have to go back and do that again later. Alright. So now back into distort, we're going to go between two lines. Select. And we select the bottom one, the top one, and it checks it and says yes, it's good. We hit apply, and what you're going to see is it's going to reverse these completely mirror image. Reason is these two lines, sweep lines, are actually starting point backwards, so it thinks we want to go this way. So let's Control Z, exit out of that. Let's go into the node editor. Select those lines. You see that green dot is our start button. We want actually our start to be at this end. So click it, right click it, make start point. And while I'm at it, I'm going to drag that up a little farther because I want it to use more of that, as a bit more of a curve there. And we'll do the same thing down below here. We want right click this one, make that our start point. Could also have used the hot points or hot buttons, but I'm not as familiar with them, so I don't use them as often. All right, let's go back into our distortion box. We will select our words, hold our shift key down, select the bottom, select the top. They all check out. We hit apply. Now let's curve to make it look like it's on that page. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Oh, it still thinks we're in node edit. Let's get out of node editing. And it ungrouped them. Let's go back. Things that happen while you're recording. Okay, group those. Now let's go distort. Between our two lines, select them, select the bottom. If you do that in backwards, it will flip it upside down. So always grab the bottom first. And hit apply. And there we have our word in there. We're going to close that and resize this because I need to be able to get to that reference Joshua part without other things being in my way. So we'll bring these down. And we can resize these back up to whatever we need later. But okay, so now close. Now we want to distort the Joshua too. So between two, select the bottom, select the top, hit apply. It makes it giant, which is fine. Now close that, and we're going to go and resize it, bring it down to the size we need. And there we have it. Let's resize this one. So we want it to look like the other one. There's no way to set these with font size or anything like that because of the way it's been done. So you just kind of eyeball it and make sure your letters are about the right size for each other. And they look pretty good there, but I'm going to turn them just a little bit. I think the resizing changes them a little bit, so line that up that way. Let's see where this one is. That was not too bad. I think I'm going to bring that one down a little bit though. A little high on the page. All right. Now we could drop a clip art into this little spot over here if we wanted. We would do that the exact same way. So we wanted to maybe put a cross in there or something, we could. But for now, we're just going to go with this. Battery's running low. Got to plug in here. All right. Plugged in. Now we should be good. Double check. Yep, microphone's still working. Okay. All right, so we can close our design area and we can start doing our cuts. We're going to start with the 3D cuts. We want to highlight our 3D. And we do the roughing pass first. Our thickness is 1.5. We want it to be on the surface, so I leave a little bit of meat underneath on the back to put a keyhole in. And everything there looks good. So we hit OK. And we are going to be using a 1/4-inch end mill for our roughing. I use the Jenny bit for that. It works great. It's a downcut 1/4-inch end mill. My speeds, you notice I mark them crazy because I actually run these at about 300 inches per minute. So if you ever get one of my cut files, make sure you slow your speeds down. Now we're going to rename this to 2.5 end mill at the end, so we reminds us what we use, what bit we used, and we're going to calculate. Now if we preview that, it's going to look ugly because that's what roughing passes look like. But we've got plenty of meat on the bottom for mounting the hanging point. That's good. Okay, roughing is done. So let's close our preview. Let's do the finish pass. And we'll go through a selection on this to make sure I do have the right one. Yes, we have the 1/4-inch ball nose. You can go down to a smaller ball nose, but it'll give you more detail, but it takes a lot longer to run. And because of the overlap, the step over is a lot lower. Size of the bit's a lot smaller, but this is a lot of flat surfaces, so the 1/4-inch does a nice job of it. So we're going to leave that one alone. And we're going to use select. And we're going to get rid of that first one because we don't need two things in there. And our finish pass, again, we're going to change the name of it to 2.5 BN for ball nose. Calculate. It's going to calculate. And then we're going to run the sample. Looks good. Now, before we get into the Vcarve part, let's do another thing. We want to be able to cut this out. We don't want this wood sitting on the outside. So if we go down here to our 3D tools and create a vector, first off, let's go back to the 2D side of it. Highlight our 3D item. And this one right here, the very first one, is create a vector boundary around the selected component. That's what we want. So now we go back over our cut files. There'll be an outline around it. So we can do our cutout of that. Cut depth of 1.5 inches. We will put some tabs on this, but if you zoom way in, you'll see your lines right there. And that goes all the way around. We're going to go on the outside. We're going to use our 1/4-inch end mill, the same one we did our roughing pass with. And I will group these together. So my roughing pass will do the roughing, and then it'll go back and it'll cut the outline. So it saves us doing a bit change in there. We're going to add some tabs in. Use a straight side. It'll be easier to sand those, cut them and sand them out if they're on the straight edge. So I'll put 3 of those on each side. I can put them down here because this will actually come loose, but when it's cutting, because the way the bit will cut around this, it will cut this out. But I'm not too worried about that. The worst it'll do is knock out of the way. And close the editing toolbar of the tabs. And we're going to call this one Profile 25 EM End Mill. Calculate. And now when we run that one, it will cut out the file. Like I said, see, these are gonna, they'll cut out, they'll fly off. I'll duck. Actually, they don't go far because I usually have it wedged up against the stop. So that'll take care of that part. Now, so that I remember to group these, I'm going to move that cut file up right below my roughing end mill so I don't have to change my end mill. That will just remind me to grab those both at the same time. Now, to go into our Vcarve, we're going to select, hold our shift key down, select Vcarve, VBit. And this should be good with the 60-degree VBit, quarter-inch diameter shaft. Let's hit select on that. We'll see what it looks like. It should be okay. Don't think we'll have to go to a smaller bit or a smaller diameter. So 60V, calculate. And let's preview that. Looks pretty good. This does not. That's not going to be deep enough because those are so narrow. So I may have to either adjust that bigger or change over to a 10-degree bit or a 30-degree bit. I would rather the less tool changes the better. So let me try making that bigger. So let's go into our 2D view, select just that one. Just make it a little bit bigger. Might be all we need to make it go. And the reason it does that is the V-bit tries to fill the space between these two lines. And if it'll go as deep as it needs to go to fill that space. If it fills it by just barely touching the surface, it will stop at that distance. So it doesn't end up very deep. But if we stretch it a little bit, we can make those gaps a little bit bigger and make our V-bit go deeper. Gotta make sure we aren't off the edge of the wood here. I think the page actually runs right through that, so we don't want that going there. But bring it in just a smidge. And then go that way a little bit to widen them up a little bit. Let's see how that goes. So, select, right click, edit, and calculate it again. And we're off a little bit. Let's see if we got the right depth though. Yes, I know that looks ugly, but I don't want to recarve everything real quick. So maybe if we shorten it a little bit, we'll fit on there better. So back to the 2D. Close out of that, get just the one. And let's shrink up this just a smidge this way. Now I think we'll fit on the page a little better. So let's recalculate that one. Yeah, it looks like a little deeper. Yes, I've got 3 of them in there. It looks ugly. So let's reset and preview all the tool paths real quick. See what that looks like after I've moved it. Still not quite there. Maybe I should move it a little farther over. I got some more space. Center it with the rest of it. So let's do that. Let's go and center it over here with the rest of the words. Where's my side? There it is. Down shorten. Over. Let's recalculate again. Now let's reset our preview. And preview all toolpaths. See what it looks like real quick. It looks a little better. Not quite what I want, but it will have to do. Close that. Now we want to save these toolpaths. Now to save them, our roughing pass is going to be linked with our profile, and we do a save. Make sure our bits are all the same, and save the toolpath. It's a good spot. What I like to do is I put a 1 semicolon. It's going to force me to use the correct order, and they'll show up in my list in the right order. Close that. Then take that off. Now we want our 3D finish pass. Save that one. That becomes, guess what? Number 2. Save. Take that off. And then our V-bit will come in. And we're going to save that toolpath. And that's going to be number 3. And there you have it. That's all there is to it. Hopefully, this next week here, I will get the do a save. I'll get the cut files done. You'll actually get to see this cut on the machine, and so when I get home, so we will see you then. Thanks. Bye.